to be for education about asexuality, so subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So why am I writing Asexuality? Asexual guide to asexuality, attraction, and the asexual spectrum. So yes, if you didn't know, I'm currently writing the book called Asexual. I started actually writing it today. I did the outline yesterday, and I continue to do some of the outline this morning. And then I have been doing the book cover as well. And thank you to all of those who voted on book covers. So I want to take you back to the beginning of what's happened. I decided to do a book publishing challenge with a company called publishing.com. I paid for the BIP upgrade package rather than doing that free stuff. So I get all their content for life plus bonuses of different trainings. So even though I'm a successful published author with my own book publishing company, Quirky Books, I got 2 best-selling asexual books, this one being one of them, Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual 78 Life Lessons to Asexual Life. This is a bestseller this year. #1 hot new release on Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk. So I've already got a bestseller. And my other book, this book is very well known. It's called Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a Celebration of Asexual Diversity. So although I've got these 2 best-selling books, I want to know how to increase my book publishing skills, because then I can get more books out for asexuals quicker. That's the theory. So this 7-day challenge, you're meant to actually write a book from scratch, create a cover for it, format it, and publish it within 7 days. Now, this is for people who are beginners usually, although there are other people that are more experienced like me joining this challenge, and for people just to get a book out to say they've published a book. But because I've already got an audience here and I'm a more experienced publisher, I won't have chance, I don't think, to finish the whole book within 7 days, because I want to write something good. It is going to be a short book to what my usual books are, and this whole challenge is to stop you procrastinating to actually get on with the mission of writing and publishing a book. So I am guided by my intuition, and on Monday this week, we're on Thursday now in the UK, on Monday this week, I intuitively came up with a new asexual book title, and it's called Asexuality. And so this is the covers. So this is the covers that I've been working on. The book isn't out yet, but it's going to be coming out. So I just started actually writing the content for it. So I put on this channel and in my Facebook groups that which cover do you like best? So I did a number of covers. This took me hours to do in a cover crate. And which cover do you like best? Now voting is now closed, and the book 5, but people gave me very constructive feedback, which I really, really love. So thank you to everyone who's took part, because I want to make this the best asexuality book on the planet. Why? Because it's called Asexuality. So if you didn't already know, ace is the nickname for asexual, but it also means to excel at something. So when you get this book, this is to help you ace asexuality, as in fully understand asexuality, what it is, what it means to be asexual, and not all the stereotypes and misconceptions out there, which is why I'm writing this book. I've had a lot of people on this channel lately who's very confused about the difference between sexual attraction and arousal, the difference between the difference between aesthetic attraction, romantic attraction, sensual attraction. I'm going to be covering all this in the book. So anyway, the book cover chosen, the winner was 5, but people wanted amendments, which is fair enough, because I want to give the best cover anyway. So this book cover has now gone from this cover here which was the one that won, to this cover here, which I think is far better. So this really stands out. So the feedback I got was to make the title bigger, which I have done. So you see here that the title's smaller on this one. This is a much more huge, so it stands out on Amazon. And the playing cards are aces. And the reason I've chosen these is because ace is a nickname for asexual, but this book teaches you how to excel at your knowledge of asexuality. So it's to help you to understand asexuality, attraction, and the asexual spectrum. There seems to be a lot of knowledge out there these days about asexuality, but there's more misconceptions, it seems, and confusion than ever before. And I think what it is people coming to the asexual community, latching on to a few things about asexuality when they don't really fully understand it. I've been helping asexuals on this channel since 2015. We're now in 2024, so for 9 years I've been helping asexuals. If you're going to learn about asexuality, please do so from someone who's known about it for years and understands it thoroughly. There are other people, not just me, but there are a lot of new people coming to the term, and people who have emerged in the last few years that don't necessarily fully understand asexuality or attraction. And that is confusing the heck out of people, right? So please be aware of that, and you don't want to be reading AI books, because some AI stuff is wrong. You want to be getting it from real people like myself and other people that are living an asexual life and that are truly asexual, right? So this is the book cover. As you can see, it's a lot different, a lot better. So the asexuality is more standing out. I put a drop shadow on this, which drop shadow gives you this really good 3D effect. And these cards are obviously a play on words as well as representing asexuality. So ace is a nickname for asexuals, but also ace are these playing cards. And to ace something, like I said, means excel something. It means be the best at it. So when you get this book, you can be comforted in the knowledge that you're getting the best advice about asexuality, my personal opinion. So these aces as well are romantic and non-romantic. So aromantic asexuality, those people that lack romantic and sexual attraction, they usually represent themselves with a spade asexual card, a spade ace card, I should say, because asexual is another name for asexual is ace, but they represent themselves usually with an ace of spades card, and romantic asexuals represent themselves with romantic hearts. So by including this, both types of cards, I'm representing both aromantic asexuals, those that lack romantic attraction in this book, as well as romantic asexuals. So that's why I decided to include both types of cards on the cover. Now, this book explains and helps you to understand asexuality, attraction in many different forms, and the asexual spectrum. And once you put all this together, you'll understand asexuality on such a more deeper level, plus yourself, because a lot of people don't understand there are multiple types of attraction. Most of society just clumps things together as sexual attraction or attraction in general. And it's much more vast than that. You've got romantic attraction, aesthetic attraction, emotional attraction, clothes attraction, creative attraction, a spiritual attraction, a number of attractions, right? And it's important you understand how you're attracted to different types of people, because obviously we have different types of relationships in life. So this was going to be the final cover, but I've had to make a little bit more of an amendment. So there we are with this cover, and I've finalized it to this. So it's got a little bit more wording on the front cover. And the reason for this is I felt when I started writing it today, I did the outline yesterday and finished the outline this morning, I actually started writing it. So I am a little behind in where I'd like to be in terms of words, but I wanted to get the cover right. I've spent hours and hours on this cover. Right, I've added a little bit more wording to it, which is really exciting because I've called it Asexual Guide to Understanding Asexuality, Attraction, the Asexual Spectrum, which I think is a more comprehensive subtitle for understanding what you're getting in this book, that it's an actual guide that will guide you through these things. Plus, big announcement, I'm creating a series called Asexual Guide. So this will be the first in the series. For those of you who are still waiting for the Asexual Guide to Sex book, that will actually be the second book in the series. I've still got to finish writing that. That's a book I've been working on for over 5 years. But I do believe having this book out first will be good, because it will lay the foundation for the Asexual Guide to Sex book. I mean, some people will love to read the Asexual Guide to Sex book. They'll find it very interesting, whether they're deciding they want to try sex or not, even if it's just for the information in it or the stories. whereas other asexuals will be sex repulsed and don't want to read that. But this book will give you a great foundation if you are going to read the Asexual Guide to Sex, because it's important to understand asexuality in the first place, different types of attractions, and the asexual spectrum before you move on to a book such as Asexual Guide to Sex, because Asexual Guide to Sex covers in more detail about obviously sex in general, but not just that. It's specifically with asexual heterosexuals and with asexuals and sexuals in general, and you know, different sexual acts, foreplay, and how to have sex with your clothes on and stuff like that. So you know, there is an element obviously of attraction. If you understand how people are attracted to each other, then that information you can build on with the Asexual Guide to Sex if you want to buy that book. And why have I written about Asexual Guide to Sex when lots of asexuals are sex repulsed? Because there's still a percentage of asexuals that are not sex repulsed that will have sex with a partner, and for various reasons. And it's important that those people have a book they can go to for a guide for asexuals when sex doesn't come naturally to most asexuals. So this book is what's really called for at the moment. I decided to write this book because, like I was saying, there's so many people on my channel at the moment that are just really misunderstanding asexuality. They're not understanding the different types of attractions. I'm getting lots of questions, more and more questions about arousal, more and more questions about sexual attraction. It seems that somewhere there is another asexual book that says sexual attraction is basically someone who causes an arousal response in you. That's not actually true, because arousal is separate to sexual attraction. And I'll be going into this in more detail. I'm not saying that there's no connection. So if someone's sexually attracted to someone, they get aroused usually as a response to that sexual attraction, and then it makes normal arousal, makes someone want to have sex. But that's different for asexuals. You can be aroused when you're asexual without experiencing sexual attraction, because they are actually two separate things. So it's really important to know this and to understand it on a deep level, so that you are not misguided or misconceived about what asexuality actually is and different types of attractions. So this is why I'm writing the book. You know, there's people's knowledge that's really missing and lacking. I think there's people that are reading stuff about asexuality and attraction, and they're not quite fully understanding what is actually going on. They're not understanding on a deep level. Now, I'm asexual. I was born asexual, but didn't realise it until 2014. But looking back throughout my life, I was always asexual. I just didn't know that at the time, because I always had an interest in kissing and romance, because I'm a romantic asexual, but I never had any desire to have sex, any drive to have sex. I have had sex in the past. I'm an asexual that has had sex in the past, but I did that predominantly because it was expected in a normal relationship, so society tells me, but I could well have lived without it. So asexuality is a sexual orientation that's based on the lack of sexual attraction. It means I don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse, that innate need and desire that, for example, heterosexuals get. Heterosexuals experience sexual attraction towards the opposite gender, and they get the innate need, desire, and urge for partnered sexual intercourse. That's what sexual attraction is, with a specific person or people, right? I don't have that. I don't have the need. I don't have the urge. I don't have the want for sex with anyone. But I do get attracted to guys romantically, aesthetically, spiritually, emotionally, creatively, intelligently, and lots of other ways. Not every guy I'm attracted to in those ways, and not every attraction I experience for every guy. But asexuality is a really big deal in terms of there is a recorded 1% of the population that's asexual. That means one in every 100 people, sorry, that you're likely to meet is asexual. And so asexuals are maybe in your family. You maybe have a family member that's asexual, a friend that's asexual, a cousin, an aunt or uncle, someone you don't know is asexual. Because there's lots of people that are asexual, but they don't realize it. and people are not out about it a lot of the time because people are afraid of what people will think of them, what people will say. And there's so many misconceptions. Like, asexuality is not a disease, it's not an illness, it's not the same as having a physical disability that stops you having sex, it's not some mental problem, it's not the same as sexual trauma abuse that stops you having sex, it's not celibacy, it's not you're not abstaining. People who are celibate and abstain on purpose from sex, they still get the urges for sex. They still get the want and desire and needs. They're just repressing and suppressing. When you're asexual, don't repress or suppress anything because you don't have those needs, urge, or wants in the first place. It's not part of your makeup. It's not how you're wired. So your physiology responses can be the same sometimes. So, like, everything can work down there. You can have working tackle, as it was. So in other words, you can still have the ability to have sex, but you don't have the desire, want, or need for it. If you're a pure asexual who doesn't experience any sexual attraction, because asexuality is a spectrum, ranging from those who don't experience any sexual attraction, going to those who do experience sexual attraction, but only under limited, rare, specific circumstances, or they experience it but not enough to want to act on it, which are the grey asexuals. So these are the two types of asexuals. People just think asexual is a blanket term, and they don't realise there's two different types of asexuals. And there's two different types of grey asexuals, which people don't realise, which I'm going to be writing about in the book. And not many people understand how their aromantic spectrum fits into the asexual spectrum, part of the asexual spectrum, if you like. So it's really important that we stop all these misconceptions. We start to understand that sexual desire, sexual attraction, libido and sex drive, and arousal are 4 different things entirely. And when I say entirely, yes, they can be intertwined. Yes, they can go together, but they're all separate things that people don't always experience together, especially if they're asexual. Asexuals think differently. We feel differently a lot of the time about sex, right? It's different for us because we're like wired differently, and there's no problem with that. It's important for people to understand that if we're lacking in sexual attraction, it doesn't mean we're lacking in value, lacking in worth, lacking as a person. It just means that we lack the desire, want, or need for that if we do. So all of this type of thing is what I'm putting in this asexuality book, so people can really understand asexuality very concisely, very simply, very easily. I think there's so much fluff out there, and there's so little matter-of-fact stuff on the internet about asexuality and attraction that it becomes very difficult to understand it and understand how it works and understand how it's different to the usual sexual attraction that a lot of people experience. So I think by providing this book, it will give people a really strong foundation in asexuality, and it will allow people to understand themselves more and their own identity more, and to really grow in confidence and self-esteem by understanding their identity more and where they're coming from in regards to the whole asexual spectrum. So I'm really excited for this book. I think it's going to be an amazing addition to asexual books that are on the market. I hope you do grab a copy when it comes out. I've already had someone in one of my asexual groups ask me when the book is coming out. So with the 7-day challenge that I'm doing, you're supposed to have the book out within the week. But because I'm an established author already, and that formula for getting your book out in 7 days is for really a novice, a beginning, someone who's just getting a short book out there for the sake of getting a book out there, who doesn't already have an audience and specialism, and I need to make sure the book is good. It's very unlikely that I will get the book finished within this week. Looking more like a date. I've said in my asexual one of my asexual groups, someone was asking to buy it. When can they buy it? So I'm looking at a deadline to have it published and out by the 16th of September. So that's 3 weeks this Monday, the day after the challenge finishes. That's to get it published and everything. So that's what I'm looking at and aiming for more than anything. But I'm aiming this week to do as much as possible. But I have still got 2 other books I need to finish. But this is the most important book at the moment because I think it's so badly needed. I think I'm just getting so many more comments and questions on this channel about, like I said, about asexuality in general and about attraction, particularly about attractions. I'm having a load of questions about attractions. People are very confused about different types of attractions. And I think, you know, this book is so called for right now. It certainly is with all the people in my community here. People are just so confused. And I'm like, I want to demystify it and unconfuse people. And it seems that there's some other people out there that are even on the asexual spectrum that might be giving you misinformation. And I'll be honest, I tend not to read other asexual books. I tend to just stick to my own knowledge of what I know, because I innately understand asexuality on a deep, deep fundamental level, because I know that I've always been asexual but didn't realize it. I'm not an asexual person who, I am an asexual person who has had sexual trauma. I'm not an asexual person who's asexual because of my sexual trauma. They are two different things, you know. Having sexual trauma which prevents you having sex needs to be worked through with a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and someone who's had sexual like abuse but has overcome that. And I've had sex in relationships after that, you know, and if I had wanted to have sex again, I really would. Then, you know, that's coming from a different angle. I'm someone who has always been asexual. Even when I had my first heterosexual boyfriend at 6 years old and he wanted to do sexual exploration and I didn't, I felt invaded. You know, when I spoke to a counsellor about that when I was 17, the counsellor's like, I don't understand. You're like, that's normal, that's doctors and nurses. Well, it wasn't to me. And I now know that's because I'm asexual. I think differently, I feel differently, and doing sexual stuff doesn't feel normal to me. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean to say I don't have normal comfortabilities to a certain extent, but I'm not comfortable doing sexual acts and sexual stuff like these days. You know what I mean? And I wasn't clearly back then. Now I understand I'm asexual. I know that I don't have to do things I don't want to do because society dictates we should. So I think this is all really important information, you know? And I think people need to understand asexuality on a big, big scale. And I just intuitively believe I'm born to help asexuals, that I was put on this planet Earth to have the life I've had, to be involved with a lot of heterosexuals, to have had sex in the past, so I can come at asexuality from the angle of I'm sex repulsed for me these days, but I have had sex in the past. I wasn't repulsed by it back then. I'd rather I didn't have it. I'm not really interested in it, but I had it, right? And it was consensual on the last long-term relationship. And you know, sex is meant to be consensual, right? But there are a couple of times in my life where one guy tried it when it wasn't consensual, another guy actually did that, right? But I personally don't have I don't really have much trauma from those times. That might sound really weird to you, but I've had most of my trauma, lasting trauma, comes from emotional and psychological trauma rather than that physical stuff. Although I've had other physical trauma, physical abuse that wasn't sexual as well. So I've had lots of different types of trauma, but I'm still working through my trauma. But the ones that affected me the most, the lasting ones, are more the psychological and emotional ones. And so I think it's very good to be self-aware, you know. But there are some people that, looking back in their life, they wouldn't say they were asexual, and now they've come to terms with the fact they are asexual, and they found out later in life they're asexual, but looking back on their life, they don't believe they were asexual, whereas I've always been asexual but didn't realize it. So with me, you're getting the benefit of understanding that I've been asexual throughout my whole life. I just didn't realize it. That's how I know asexuality on a deep fundamental level, because I'm not coming at asexuality and saying, oh, I grew to be asexual, or partway through my life I realized I was asexual, but I wasn't asexual before. I've always been asexual but didn't realize it. I'm a genuine, pure asexual in terms of I don't experience any sexual attraction, but I do have grey areas. I have nuances, and I believe I've been made that way in order to help different types of asexuals on the asexual spectrum. So in this book, obviously, I am talking about the asexual spectrum, and all asexuals are valid. There are some people, unfortunately, that do come into the asexual community that aren't actually asexual, just like you get people who come into other communities pretending to be something they're not, and they're not. So that does actually happen from time to time, unfortunately. But the majority of asexuals, you know, are very welcoming to each other. They are understanding of each other, and they just really, you know, are welcoming in all these communities, which is really, really important. I run 6 asexual Facebook groups, so I do have a vast amount of experience with actually communicating on a daily basis, usually with asexuals, and I understand it, like I said, on a deep, innate, foundational level, which I think with some other people you don't necessarily get. There are other asexuals that have been going for a long time on YouTube that do know what they're talking about as well, because obviously they understand it. They understand the evolution of asexuality, if you like. They understand what asexuality really means, and some of those don't necessarily understand the different types of attractions though. I specialize a lot in different types of attractions. So I think it's really important to understand that when you get your knowledge and know-how about asexuality, please get it from valid sources, people that understand asexuality on a deep level, people who are genuine asexual, people who have a lot of knowledge to share and give, and who actually like practice what they preach and live the asexual life that is actually meant for them, you know. And it doesn't mean to say they're asexuals that can't have sex. Some asexuals do have sex, and not every asexual is sex repulsed, and it's really important to understand that. And because people don't experience sexual attraction, it doesn't mean to say that they can't actually take sexual action, which is something else that's very important to know. So I'm going to be giving a good foundation of asexuality in this book, Attraction, the Asexual Spectrum, so you just know more about asexuality in general, and you can improve your knowledge, wisdom, know-how about asexuality, so it can provide a better future for you of understanding towards yourself and others. I've been really happy to have you here. If you've got any questions, comments, queries, please post them down below. If there's anything specifically you want me to cover in this book, because I'm still writing it at the moment, do pop them down in the comments below. I'd really love to know what you think. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like it. If you're excited for the book, please thumbs up away. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. I've got to get back to working on the book now. And thank you for being here. As always, stay ace. Take care. Bye. Oh, and let me know what you think of the cover.